Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Monday, the 4th day of March, 2024. Well, here we are in a new month. It snowed a little bit here yesterday. It's still out there because it's not going to get probably above, well, I don't know, it may just be in the 30s today, so I don't know. Winter's still here. And I looked online, and apparently Portland got a lot of snow, or well, some snow anyway. Uh, I saw one area out in Washington County, a picture out there that was pretty snowed in from what I could tell, but we'll see. You just never know here in the Pacific Northwest how it's going to be in the wintertime and when that ends. And this time, though, we didn't get, it doesn't look like we got what they got, so which is usually not the case. So anyway, so if this is your first time here, welcome. I periodically I'll say what I do here. You can always click on more below the video, and it opens up a box and it tells you what I'm doing here. But basically, I'm going to choose two runes as the significators for the reading. One will be from the Elder Futhark, which will be the above side or the higher self side of influences, and the below side will be from the Geomancy rune set. And then from there, once we get an overall focus, which usually ends up remaining that, sometimes though it doesn't, it just kind of depends on the cards. The cards may take a completely different direction, although typically not. But whatever it does, I'm going to take 3 cards to give some details. If I need more, I'll take them. But otherwise, that's the way the reading's going to go here today. So right now I'm waiting for the final rune to fall in my hand here out of the Elder Futhark bag. Here we have Sewillow. Sewillow is one of the As Above, So Below runes. You have Kenaz skewed, basically, both above and below. And Kenaz, the rune Kenaz, it looks like it's like the lesser than sign or something. Excuse me. It means the torch or the light or clarity. And I interpret it to be the light of higher awareness or the light of spirit informing, either informing your own ego awareness or expressing it out to other people, drawing it in, however you want to see it. My throat, I don't even know what's going on with my throat here. Hold on a minute. Maybe the tea will help, maybe it won't. But anyway, Sewillow is the rune of the sun. It's the 16th rune of the Elder Futhark, and it's a fire element rune. It means the invocation of will, energy, self-confidence, healing, the higher self, illumination, and again, the link between spirit and form. And so expressing that outward to people, drawing it in from spirit, and then expressing it in your interactions and dealings with other people. But it's suggesting as the higher self rune, you know, it's suggesting that we need to be seeing things from that perspective as well for, you know, the best outcome. Otherwise, we just get caught up in the ego. Now let's see what the Geomancy runes are going to say about that. We're going to put, I have them, these are 4 runes that are coded to air, fire, water, and earth, or well, fire, air, water, and earth, and that's the order I'm going to put them in. A single dot is an active presence. A dual dot is oops, well, there it went, but I know what it was. So it's going to be Tristitia today. We had Tristitia, we had that on Thursday of last week too. Tristitia is an interesting rune. Its complement is Laetitia, and it's basically talking about extreme emotion and both sides of the coin there. And in terms of Laetitia, it would be joy, but a lot of it, right? Extreme happiness and all of that. Everything's just wonderful. Everything's coming up roses, basically, with Laetitia. But with Tristitia, it's different. It's considered an evil rune in that it's an evil energy because it's totally ego-based. Instead of just simple grief or sadness at the loss of something, maybe somebody, I talked about it this way on Thursday, say somebody dies or you get a divorce or whatever, that's a big deal. And you're going to feel a lot of grief. You're going to feel a lot of things, right? That are sadness, loss, grief, and all of that. But the thing that happens with Tristitia is we get stuck there. And when we get stuck there, then things like judgment comes out, holding grudges, condemnation, being secretive, just doing things in a way that and seeing the worlds through a lens that is just not realistic. It's gone too far. There's no light coming in. And Sawillo, as with I was on Thursday, I was is another as above, so below rune, where you're letting the flow of spirit inform everything. Through that, you let go of Tristitia, that Tristitia energy, and that tendency to get stuck in that one particular perception, or seeing everything through the lens of such severe grief and loss that there's nothing positive in your life at all. And so it's really the extreme end of the negative side of things, getting caught up in something like that. And so again, as with last Thursday with the rune I was, with Sawillo, you're really letting the light of spirit come in and letting higher awareness guide your viewpoint, your perception, your emotions, everything, how you see things, and letting that come in and heal you. Whereas there's a little bit of an element of healing intrinsic to I was, it's really present in Sawillo. So there may be something today where you're about ready to give up, and you need to realize that there's no reason to do that. It's fine to feel grief. It's fine to feel sorrow and sadness when it's appropriate to do so. But there's a point at which, if you've gotten stuck and you can't even come out of the house or socialize with people or pick up the phone or engage at all, that's gone too far. And you have to keep a more balanced viewpoint of things. It's not saying that when something awful happens that you shouldn't feel what you feel. It's not saying that at all, because you should. But hanging on to it to the point that you can no longer see the forest for the trees, that's the type of extreme energy we're talking about again today. So I'm just going to link this reading to Thursday's reading, and see where it goes. So there just seems to be a little more, maybe it's even though maybe you've been trying to let some things go, last Thursday, maybe you've been spending, the last few days thinking about that idea. Today's reading, I think, is really with Sawillo is going to drive that whole point home, that the answer to all of that is to get into a meditative state and draw in higher awareness with that goal in mind, and visualize that happening, and just see what happens. See if you don't experience a little bit of a shift. It doesn't have to happen all at once, as long as you begin that process of healing. Because when with Tristitia, you're not healing. You're staying there. You're staying in that state of mind, which the soul doesn't need to be in. It's one thing to experience, for the soul to come in this life and experience grief and sadness and loss and all of those emotions, and it will. But that's not the place it's not where it lives. It's not its home. Okay. And you need to return home, basically, in terms of your mindset, to that higher awareness based experience that reflects who you are, instead of the ego hanging on to you and keeping you a slave to that. Well, something just popped up on my screen. Oh, it's a note. I guess I touched my mouse over here. But let's go ahead and take a look and see what cards we get. Again, now last time we had the Six of Pentacles, Knight of Cups, and the Six of Swords. And that illustrated basically the healing process and of how you can maybe help rationalize some of it, because unfortunately healing isn't just emotional. It's going to have to reflect the intellect and being able to see things differently and perceive things differently, not just feeling things. Because again, the emotions you can get very caught up in that. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to cut the deck. We'll take the lower half and we'll take 3 cards. Well, this is interesting. So on Thursday, right? Now, given it's a 3-card spread and it's just about influences and the details of what the runes are saying, you can move your cards around in a situation like that. if you have another type of a spread where like a Celtic cross or something like that, or a 3-card spread that you would define in the beginning of it as past, present, future kind of thing, then you're kind of stuck in that pattern. But otherwise, you can move your cards around. Well, I'm not going to do that here today, I don't think. But what we have here is we had the 6 of Pentacles, the Knight of Cups, and the 6 of Swords. So I had 2 6s bookending basically the Knight of Cups. Well, here I have 2 4s bookending a 6. And again, we've got 3 different, now last time fire was not represented, so wands wasn't in that reading. However, it is this time, and we don't have any court cards. We don't have any major cards. Let's go ahead before we go any further here, and let's do the, let's see, we said, where's my little calculator? Oh, there it is. Okay. I have to use my calculator app here to do this because I can't see otherwise. You use my keyboard here. Anyway, we've got, let's see, we have the 16th rune. So 16 plus 6 plus 4 plus, or I'm sorry, I'm inverting here. 16 plus 4 plus 6 plus 4 equals 30. So 3 plus 0 is 3. That's how you do reduction in numerology, if you didn't know. And so we're looking at a 3 numerology for the reading. I forget what we had last time. I think we had a 7. I believe it was a 7. And if it was, well, I can look, but I don't want to. Well, I can do that really quick. No, not there. Let me find this one here. Well, I can't open it, so, and that's already gone. Maybe it's not. Oh, yes, it was a 7. Okay. So anyway, I hope it didn't. I don't think that interfered with the picture here. Anyway, so we had a 7 last time, and we have a 3 this time. 3 is going to be about integration. It's kind of an air type of an elemental air type of a number. It's integration, communication, and balance, creativity. It could be any number of things, really, how we want to talk about that. But let's just wait and see. I'm thinking integration, though, between soul and ego, and that it needs to be more heavily weighted on soul or higher awareness. Let's just look at it that way in terms of integration. But I want to leave this bookended here, and let's just see where it goes. We'll begin with the 4 of Pentacles. Here we see the king with his sitting out away from the kingdom. You see this dual line of demarcation. You won't see that on every card in the Rider-Waite. But when you do, in my opinion, what that means is you're looking at that was then, this is now. Or that's one situation and here I am now. It doesn't have to be like a linear time thing. It could just be that he's getting out away from his kingdom and he's displaying his wealth. He's holding fast to it. You can see him holding the one coin here on his lap. You see it displayed here. He's putting his feet on 2 more big coins there. And 4 is about structure. It's about foundation. It's about pragmatism, hard work, responsibility, being steadfast. But it's that grounding, that sense of structure and foundation. And for him, for this king, he's very conservative. Now, you could say he's miserly. You also could say, though, with Pentacles, see, this is the physical reality side of things, the earth element. And so you're looking at money, finances, you're looking at tradition, legacy, inheritance, education, home, family, all of that, everything about your physical life, all right? And so you're looking at remaining conservative about that and not letting things go so much, right? Hanging on to what you have. Now, in terms of Tristitia, though, it could be saying he's hanging on to what's important to him. And in terms of Tristitia, it could be how he sees things and how stuck he is in something. If you look at this in terms of miserliness, it could be he's too stuck in his own wealth and his own idea of possessions and what that does for him to extend that to anyone else. Maybe he doesn't, maybe his kingdom is in poverty, and he's not willing to share his wealth with the people that live under him, right? And so, but if you extrapolate it to Tristitia and the sense of loss that you're getting stuck in, you're hanging on to something here that you feel is worth something. And Sewillow would suggest, well, there's value in understanding the situation. There's understanding how you feel about it. There's certainly value there, but at some point you have to be able to apply that to other things, which means you then have to interact and engage with other people and with the world again and with your life again, right? And so if we look at this as being stuck, and this is what it's worth to him, then there's this self-reinforcing feeling and experience when you stay stuck in emotions that no longer serve you. When you hold a grudge that doesn't serve you any longer. The other person, they're living rent-free in your head, as they say, right? The other person you're holding a grudge at probably doesn't even remember what it was, or if he does, or if they do, they just don't see it the same way. All they know is you're no longer in their life, and you're not talking to them anymore, and maybe that's an appropriate thing to do, but there's a difference between saying, you know what, I can't engage with that person anymore because of these things that are realistic. They're doing this stuff and I'm not comfortable, so I'm going to go over here now. That's one thing. A grudge is something else, right? There you get into this tristitia aspect of it. One is a more rational way of seeing it. This doesn't work for me, so I'm going to go do something else. And the other, because you don't stop living. It doesn't make you stop at that point from doing anything. You're going to go do something else. So you're letting go of that situation and you're moving on. So you have that type of thing happening there. But with tristitia and the Four of Pentacles, I think we can say that what you value and what you want to hang on to is maybe something having to do with this tristitia energy today, instead of hanging on to the Sewillow side of things, where you're more enlightened and awakened and there's that woke stuff again, right? Yeah, well, it's a good thing, because think about the alternative, right? So that's the alternative, right? To stay in something that it's not even real anymore, right? It's no longer happening. Then we move on here. Now, we've talked about the sixes before. There's this sense of unequalness about each six card, but I don't think it matters in all of them. It did in the Six of Pentacles, where he's got this illusion of helping people when he's really not. It's making him feel better, but it's really not doing anything positive for the people on the ground who was holding their hands out for the charity he's offering, at least to one of them. Maybe not the other, but at least to one. But we don't know that. I mean, he may be getting ready to hand something to the other person too, but we don't know that. There's a sense of unequalness between his station in life and their station in life, and maybe whether or not he gives to one and not the other. So there's a sense of potential inequality there, right? Here, I don't see that the six matters in that regard. Yes, he's a man of means, and they probably aren't. They're people in his court, or people that the townspeople or something. But he's a man of means. Maybe, excuse me, maybe the king. I don't see a crown. I do see a wreath of victory. I see one there too. But you see five unequal. There's two here and three here and one here. So there's a sense of unequalness here too. 4 and 2 being 6, that there's 4 and instead of 3 and 3. Same with the Six of Pentacles, where you had 3 pentacles here, 1 up here, and only 2 over here. So there's evidence of unequalness everywhere. But here, at least, they're going in the same direction. And with the Suit of Wands, you're looking at the will. And here they're all coming back, or at least the king's coming back, or the man of means is coming back from some kind of thing, whether it was a battle maybe and it's all over with, or maybe there was a meeting and they made some decisions and, they made some agreements or whatever, and he feels he was successful out of it. Whatever it is, they're all going in the same direction. So there's an exercise of will here, of this shared direction, which this implies that there are people that you have that can be supportive for you if you're going through a difficult time with tristitia here and you can't seem to let go of it. It may imply that it's friends or family, or it could be maybe going and seeing a counselor of some kind to try to help you through the grief process, because if it's if this is like 2 years into it, something's got to give, right? It's just like here, something's got to give. Either the king's got to give, or, other times this can just represent a conservative approach to something. But I think with Tristitia, again, it represents hanging on to something that you don't need to hang on to so tightly. And that how we see things is something, man, some people, they get in that a particular way of thinking, a particular mindset, and man, you can't convince them of anything else. Well, this is signaling, yes, you need to let the light of higher awareness come in and convince you that you can think something else, right? And so again, there's people there. Here you can. The 6 is also about guidance and assistance. And so maybe he's guiding them, guiding them in this direction towards something successful or the result of something successful. But the bottom line is they've all got staffs. They're not powerless here. They have their own will. They can make their own choices, and they're choosing to go with him. And so it may be that there are people out there that can help you in your struggle, and can help you maybe think of things a little bit differently than how you have, to give you the courage and support to move forward in something that maybe you're still stuck in. And then in the final analysis, we come to the 4 of Swords. Again, it's a shift of mindset. It's a shift of thinking. Here, you see the casket and the relief of somebody, either the king or a knight or whoever. You see the sword here. It's probably a king, though, although there's not a crown on his head here, or the rendition of a crown, because this is all stonework, right? And here you've got the 3 swords pointing downward. You see the stained glass. So this is likely a mausoleum where they've put where the gentleman here is at rest. And so it's letting your thoughts come to a rest. And instead of hanging on to things that really don't serve you anymore, that you feel are so important that you can't let them go, in truth, you can. Again, there's help for you out there, help and support, people who love you and who will want to help you exercise your will in a different way, support you in that process, assist you in that process. Again, the 6 is about guidance and assistance. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to bring your thoughts to rest. And it's interesting, you see the 3 up here, and we have a 3 for the overall numerology for the reading, and there's the 4th one down here. But the idea of the 3, that it brings some kind of integration that's coming down from spirit. It's letting spirit inform. And basically you're looking at the points here. If they were this way, then it would be holding it up to spirit and drawing it in this way. But here, everything's at rest. And so in meditation, for example, you can take that time to really allow your thoughts to settle, allow them to come to a rest, and to give the space for something else to come in, to give the space for higher awareness to let you see things with more clarity, and realize that, if this is something where you've experienced a very dramatic loss of some kind and you just can't let go of it. I said this on Thursday. You're not to let go of something like that is not letting go of, say it was a loved one who passed. You're not letting go of the love you feel for them. And they wouldn't want you to stay in that mode of being upset all the time and having it affect everything that you think, everything that you do, having it become the lens through which you see your life. And I think that maybe the reason we're seeing a very similar reading today that like what we had on Thursday of last week is that this is a difficult issue for people to contend with. It's not something that you can hear somebody on a YouTube channel say, oh, you got to let it go. Well, yeah, you got to let it go, but how? How do you do that? Especially when it's impacted you the way that it has. Letting go of situations that literally are no longer happening. If it's not something that's, a severe, like a loss of a loved one or something, to get yourself out of that place you're now putting yourself. It's no longer the situation that's causing it. It's you that's causing it. And so it may take assistance, outside assistance, essentially, through a counselor of some kind. whatever that is for you, or somebody that a friend you just trust really well, maybe one of your relatives or something. Maybe you have one of your parents or an aunt or an uncle or somebody who has always been the voice of reason and the one that you've gone to it for advice in the past. Maybe they're willing to do that again for you. I mean, if they're family, they probably are. And so allowing the space for another way of seeing things is literally the first step toward healing. It doesn't have to happen all at one time, because it likely can't. If you've been entrenched in this for a while, it won't happen all of just in the blink of an eye. It won't. There'll be times where you'll backslide and you'll start ruminating and you'll start seeing things that way again, and you're just going to have some kind of way of reminding yourself, wait a minute, that doesn't feel good to me. I'm slipping back a little bit. So let's, I'll go see my therapist, or I'll go see my counselor, or I'll go talk to my friend and see if we can make a plan for what happens when I realize I'm doing that. If you haven't done that already, see, then you have to have a way, some kind of trigger for yourself where you realize, I'm back there again. I need to get out of that quickly, and change your mindset very quickly at that point. But see, at that point, you will have had, I'm assuming, a few conversations about all of it. And so you're already opening, the fact that you're having them, you're already opening up and giving space for that to come in. And for the higher awareness, for the soul, for the higher self to gently come in and make you feel like you're not alone, and you never were. And, you can always access the higher self within, going into meditation, or just sitting quietly or whatever, and turning your attention to that. And see things from that perspective, where you're not judging any longer what's going on, and not even judging yourself. Because again, letting go of something like that, Tristitia energy in your life, in your awareness, is difficult, especially if you've been there for a while. And so you're going to need that extra support from somebody or somebody's, whatever, your situation is. But it's there. Just know that it's there, both from others and from your higher self, to get you going in a different direction that's positive and victorious. You see the wreaths there. That's indicating something positive has happened. And that positive shift where you're moving in a different direction and away from the Tristitia energy, and if not to the full Laetitia energy, at least heading in that direction. You want to find some balance. That was part of the numerology for Thursday's reading, was the 7 numerology is about balance. It's about letting things settle out and observe and find a balance for yourself that's not so heavily weighted on depression and fear and grief and doubt and condemnation and all of those things that Tristitia embodies. So again, I think that's why we're seeing it again today. And who knows, maybe we'll see something related to it on Thursday when we do this again. But at least for last Thursday and today, I think it's driving home the idea that it's not so easy to do, and that you need support in doing it, from both your own inner awareness and from the help you can get from others. And then to take your time, and to let your thoughts come to a rest, and to not have the Tristitia energy be at the heart of everything you do and think and say and be and believe and all of that. It doesn't need to consume you, because that's what it does. It consumes a person, and you can't get out of it. We've all been there. Maybe not to the extent of the kinds of stuff I'm talking about now, but we've all been there. We just can't let stuff go. And we worry and we fear, and there's all this energy that we're putting towards something that, number one, isn't happening anymore. And, things that, especially if you're holding a grudge with a friend or a family member or something, it's not happening anymore. Now, maybe that person is still the same person, but again, you can see it in a more realistic way that's gets you less emotionally stuck in the whole thing. So we'll see on Thursday, if if we get Tristitia again, then it's just going to drive home the idea that this takes time. And the ego has a tremendous ability to get a hold on people and their psyches and keep it there, and be in the reactive sense of self instead of the non-reactive sense, the higher self. All right, the aspect of self that is about love, and not just love of other people, but love of yourself. Have compassion for yourself. You don't need to be in that place anymore. It's time to go from there and to come back into a place where you can, dare I say, be happy. You deserve it. You deserve that happiness. And it's up to you to make that happen. So anyhow, that's it. It was a lot for a Thursday. It's a lot for a Monday, but I just think it just illustrates the weight of something like this. That you can get stuck in the misery of it, and you can't get out of it, and you have to. You can't stay there. You deserve more than that. You deserve better than that. And because after all, you're a soul. You're an aspect of the Creator. You don't need to live in the negative anymore. So anyhow, that's it. Thanks for watching. I don't know. I never know what's going to come up here. I do cold readings, so the only time I don't is if I have too much glitchiness with my software. And then I get irritated. It's like, all right, I've been talking about this same thing. I'm not drawing any more cards. I'm not drawing any more runes. I'm going to do this one, And that's how I end up I end up doing it that way. It won't be a cold reading at that point because I've already been talking about it for a while. But, then it's time to reboot the computer and let everything reset, and then I have time before that happens again, right? So anyhow, otherwise, whatever I get, and we talk about it. So anyway, so it's kind of interesting that we got Tristitia again, and it's kind of talking about the same thing. So I think it just stresses that it's hard, but it also stresses that you're worth more than that. So anyhow, thanks for watching, and click subscribe if you haven't done that yet. I'd love you to do that and come back again and join our little tarot and rune family. I think that the tarot and the tarot cards and the runes can at least give us something other than our own way of perceiving things, to think about things in a different way, and maybe it'll be of benefit. Maybe it won't be of benefit now, but later on it might. It might come to mind, and something in a reading, and anytime you do a reading, it can be that way, where you look at it and you go, I don't know what this has to do with anything, and then all of a sudden, a month later, it's like, oh, okay, I maybe I'll see that a little differently. Maybe I'll think about that a little bit more, and even if that's all it does for you, that's a good thing. And it just allows you to explore ideas maybe you hadn't thought of before. So anyway, that's it. Have a good week. We'll, come back again on Thursday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.